So, Leslie, thank you for being on Idaho William today. So, please tell me about your GMO Free Idaho food.
Well, thank you for having me. And I so appreciate it. I just think the world of you. Such a smart, young 8-year-old boy. So, GMO Free Idaho is a nonprofit organization, and we educate consumers about genetically modified foods. And so in the fall of 2009, I heard the term GMO for the first time, and I'd never heard it before. And I was really quite upset. Just like your mom was upset when she found out about genetically modified foods.
I think that was like 2 or 1 year ago, I think.
A couple years ago, yep.
Yes, and when mothers find out that they're feeding their children foods that are untested, unlabeled, and not deemed to be safe, they get really upset. I don't have kids, but I was still upset. And so I started doing research and educating myself, and I met Jenny Easley, who does have 4 kids, and we got together and we formed GMO Free Idaho.
So basically 2 people?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we've had help from people like your mother and others in the Valley who are dedicated to educating others. And in fact, next session we're submitting legislation for mandatory labeling laws.
That sounds cool.
So you remember in California when they had the ballot initiative and they all voted for labeling, Prop 37?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that on the news all the time.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something similar here. So if you were 18, you could vote.
I just have to add 1. I just have to add a 1, and then I would have 18.
You just need 10 years on you.
So, are GMOs safe to eat?
It's a good question. Genetically modified foods have never been human safety tested. So we really don't know if they're safe for human consumption. But animal studies show that they can cause adverse health effects, things like allergies, autoimmune disorders, even cancer. But that's something that we'll never know until human safety studies are conducted. So.
Okay, and so do GMOs help the environment?
Oh, that's one of my biggest concerns is the environmental aspects and how genetically modified foods affect our environment. You know, when we have a field of genetically modified corn sitting next to a field of conventional corn, that GMO corn can cross-pollinate because of the wind, or bees, or birds, and then that field becomes contaminated and it becomes genetically modified. And so we're seeing a huge reduction in the biodiversity of our crops. And it's actually very, very quite scary. It's estimated that 50% of the corn varieties in Mexico are now contaminated with Monsanto's GMO traits.
That sounds very bad.
It is very bad. And so that's one of my biggest concerns is cross-contamination. But then we have other concerns like weed and pest resistance, where they spray these crops so much with herbicide that the weeds become resistant to it. And so we're getting super monster weeds. And then we're spraying a lot of Roundup in our environment too, and Roundup is a very, very toxic chemical.
And you can find that at Lowe's.
You can. People use it on their lawn.
To kill the weeds.
Yeah. And we're using over 500 million pounds of Roundup in our environment every year just in the U.S. And so, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned for our environment.
That's a lot of pounds.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of Roundup.
So, do GMOs help farmers' crops and their businesses?
Well, genetically modified foods and crops have no benefit to consumers. They're not better nutritionally. When I go to the store and buy genetically modified foods, there's no benefit to me. To a farmer, though, he's able to reduce his field hands because he doesn't need to hire anyone to go pull weeds, and that saves him time. Genetically modified seeds are very expensive, and they have to buy them every single year. And they have to sign a contract that says they can't save their seed. So it's not very sustainable for farmers because every single year they have to buy more seeds. And the herbicides are very expensive also, and because of the weed resistance I was talking about, they're having to buy more herbicides, different kinds of herbicides to put over their crops as well. And although genetically modified foods were designed to increase yield, they are not increasing yield. because of the pest and weed resistance, and you know, they're failing. Genetically modified foods are actually failing. The technology is not working. So for farmers, it's a benefit initially, yes. They might show an increase in yields. It might cut the wages on their farm, but long term it's not sustainable and it's not very beneficial.
So how can people make a difference at the grocery store by not buying GMOs?
Well, every time that you buy something, you're placing your vote. Our purchasing power is a vote. So when you go into the store and you buy non-GMO, you're voting for non-GMO foods. And it's estimated that if just 5% of our population votes with their dollar and buys non-GMO, that we can push them off our markets without mandatory labeling laws.
And all organic is like $3 more a GMO.
It depends on the product. Organic can be a little more expensive, but buying organic is definitely a vote for non-GMO, because for something to be organic, it can't be genetically modified seed.
I can't. Like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my mom and stepdad always buy organic.
You do? That's good. I like to buy organic too, because it's not just about avoiding genetically modified foods for me. I don't want sewer sludge in my food. I don't want herbicides and pesticides or hormones or antibiotics. Icky, right? Who wants to eat that?
Yeah.
Not you.
No. Wait. And why does Monsanto, how can people make a difference against GMOs and learn and research more about GMOs?
Well, William, there's lots of resources. It's very exciting because when we started this 3 years ago, you know, the movement had momentum, but not like it does now. A lot more people are becoming aware, and so there's so many resources. You can go to Organic Consumers Association, you can go to their website, you can go to Institute for Responsible Technology. You remember the film Genetic Roulette?
Yeah.
You watched that one, right?
I think I have.
I think you did too. And you can go to his website, which is responsibletechnology.org. You can also go to our website, gmofreeidaho.com, and learn more. And what's really exciting is that 37 states across the nation are advocating for food transparency. And they have rolled out legislation for mandatory labeling. So if you go to right-to-know-gmo.org, you can click on your state and see how you can take action, get involved with a local group like ours, and help to pass legislation.
And here's another good question. I know Monsanto makes GMO foods, but why does he eat organic and feed it organic to his workers? So why does he do that?
That's a good question. He probably doesn't want to eat GMOs either because, you know, William, before GMOs were put on the market, FDA scientists said you should not approve this for human consumption. We need to do more studies. And that's why in many countries genetically modified foods are banned or labeled, is because the scientists there said these are not fit for human consumption. We need to do more research. And here in the US, they ignored the FDA scientists who said that. So that's probably why Monsanto serves organic food in their cafeteria, is because they know they're not safe.
So now I understand.
That's a very good question, though.
Yeah, I made that one up.
You did? Right on the spot? You're a quick thinker. You're going to be a good little interviewer. So is there anything else you want to ask me?
Yeah, no, not really. I've pretty much said everything, all the questions.
Okay, great. So if you do want to get involved, you can go to gmofreeidaho.com. You can follow us on Facebook, and absolutely be sure that you subscribe to Idaho William on YouTube. Right?
Yeah.
All right, so tell them you have a right to know.
You should have the right to know about GMOs.